you go. There's no way. I'm already still burning. So hold me close. Now, baby, I do what I'm told. Still learning to take my chances, to take my time, to keep on dancing, to walk that line. Yeah, you got me shifting the paradigm. No longer wishing. You're my lucky strike. Love the way you ride.
Don't play with me. Cut the music. You already know. You clicked on the button. You hit the thumbnail. The name is Rick Drogo. I don't need promo. 1v4, I'll knock your whole squad solo. Yeah, I put one right through the door. Yeah, I put one more in the ceiling. So they know I mean business. Crash the Party is back. And I'm crashing the party. Republican, Democrat, I don't care what you are or what you believe. I'm trying to find the truth. Where's the truth at? Huh? It's like a party. You know, them parties back in the 90s. You walk in and they was doing some of that in the living room, but you didn't know them. So I'm trying to figure out where they got it from. Hey, man, where's that truth at? I know there's some truth around here. I saw it. I heard a little bit of that truth. Who's got it? Who's got the truth? Is it over here? Do we have any more truth? Or do we need to call somebody to get me the dang truth? Crash the Party is now fueled by Morphogen Nutrition. That's right. Morphogen Nutrition is in the building. Morphogen Nutrition is the best supplement company on the market. Now, they say in the space of supplements and nutrition, there's no best. And maybe that's true. But in my opinion, Morphogen Nutrition is my favorite because it gives you the most complete dosing of any supplement that I have ever taken. That's right. Whether it's the pre-workout or the multivitamin or the sleep aids, this one right here that I got, this is going to be the product of the day, is their Omega. And you already know what that is. The Omega is basically, it says fish oil and vitamin support. So it's got omega-3s, D3, and K2. What Omega does is it's going to help you with heart health, brain function, bone strength. Let's see what I say. Heart health. Inflammation. Heart health, inflammation, bone strength. Heart health. Heart health. Yep. Inflammation, bone strength. And I said the other one. What was it? Brain function. Brain function and bone strength. So it's got the omega-3s in it, and it's got 4,000 milligrams of omega-3s. That's right. Now go in your cabinet right now, hit pause on the video, or go ahead and take me, if you got me in your phone, I'm talking to you, Mom. Okay, go to your cabinet and go look at your omega-3s, your fish oils. Tell me how many milligrams it is. I bet it's 1,000 or 2,000. At the most, it's probably 3,000. Maybe you have a maximum support and it says 3,600. This one's got 4,000 milligrams in it, and it doesn't have that fishy taste. No fillers at all. I'm telling you, I'm going to put a link in the bio. No, I'm going to put a link, I'm going to put a link in the description. Click on it, go to the product, and you can see they are all about scientifically dosed products. Now, this is 8 capsules. My wife is like, dang, boy, that's a lot of pills. But I'm a big boy, okay? If you probably, a lot of you don't need to take all 8. You may not need 4,000 milligrams. But if you're like me, 6'3", 230 pounds of raw sexuality, then you need all them omegas you can get. So check it out. Use code RickDrogo for 10% off. That's right. We did it. We arrived. We made it. We got a code, y'all. Code RickDrogo for Morphogen Nutrition. Like I said, I love them. I really love their pre-workouts. They got a pump. They got a max stem. I mix them. I flip-flop them. I use like 10 different products of theirs. So I'll be putting them up. I'll be talking about them. Sorry. That's the way it is. I'm all about health. And I'm all about Morphogen Nutrition because I be morphing. Am I recording? Okay. I thought I wasn't recording it for a second. Okay. So we're here. The news is newsing. That's right. Donald Trump says he says a lot. I know. Donald Trump said last night, I believe it was last night, he said that they have reached a deal. Now, over the last couple weeks, he has been saying we're close, we're right there. He's been saying it a lot. People are not really buying it, but he has not yet said this, which was they have met. They have come to a deal. They have come to. They have met. It's like I need some more of them omegas for my brain functioning. They have come to an agreement. Is the word I'm looking for. They've come to an agreement, and they're making a deal. The Strait of Hormuz. He said last night on his Twitter, on Trump Twitter, he said, the Strait of Hormuz is now open. Start your engines and move your oil. So he has not said that yet. I believe him. And that's what we're going to focus on today. We're going to look and see what he has to say. And we're going to watch a few clips from both sides. We're going to watch a Fox News clip. We're going to watch some CNN clips. And we're going to see what Obama has to say about this. This is where we do. We crash the party. We come in and we look at both sides. I'm trying to find the truth, okay? And the only way for me to find the truth is to ruffle some feathers. I'm like Batman out here, okay? Where's Rachel? Tough crowd. All right. So let's go ahead and take a look here real quick. Let's see what's going on. We won't be here all day. Okay, this is a clip from CBS, and it's ultimately just him at the G3 summit.
President Trump is in Europe for the G7 summit, where a signed memorandum of agreement with Iran will feature prominently in the gathering. The Trump administration is promising to release the full text of the deal later this week. CBS's Torian Small has more from the White House.
All right.
Speaking from the G7 summit in France, President Trump touted an electronically signed agreement to end the war with Iran.
The main thing is that Iran will not have a nuclear weapon. They fully agreed to that.
An official signing ceremony is set for Friday.
He said they agreed to that? Okay. We like it. We'll take it, Trump. One shot in the air for Trump. From my little 22. 2 shots.
Expected to be in Geneva, Switzerland. Vice President J.D. Vance will be on hand.
We plan to release the full text this week. We want the American people to see it.
For now, hundreds of ships remain at a standstill in the Strait of Hormuz. The U.S. military says its blockade of Iranian ports remain in effect until that Friday signing, when President Trump says the key waterway will be completely opened.
It's a very important step towards peace, but as well for the global economy.
France's president congratulated Trump and offered to dispatch fighter aircraft as soon as Tuesday to conduct observation flights over the strait.
Everybody's breathing a sigh of relief in Europe and around the...
I'm sorry. I just got to look at this again. Look at that handshake.
Peace, but as well for the global economy.
France's president congratulated Trump and...
Look at his hand. What is that? Why? That's so funny to me.
Offered to dispatch fighter aircraft as soon as Tuesday to conduct observation flights over the strait.
Everybody's breathing a sigh of relief in Europe and around the world that the Strait of Hormuz is going to be reopened.
Yeah, I'm
because the
happy.
nightmare scenario was going to be that this dragged right through the summer.
A longer-term
Right.
closure of the strait could have continued to drive up oil prices at a peak time for consumption. President Trump says gas prices here at home are already coming down. The official signing will set off 60 days of talks to still negotiate some of the stickiest issues, including...
Excuse me. I filled up my tank today. Diesel. $4 and like 34 cents, something like that. So it hasn't really gone down. That's kind of where it's been at. It's been fluctuating around that area for a little bit now, for me personally.
How to destroy Iran's nuclear stockpile.
Whether we play an observer role or whether we play a more active role, these are the sorts of things that we'll figure out in technical talks.
Israel's role is also in question. The U.S. says it expects all parties to cooperate, but Israel officials say they're not bound to the agreement to end fighting with Hezbollah in Lebanon. Torian Small, CBS News, the White House.
All right, so Israel, they straight up said, look, y'all can do your thing, but we're still fighting a war over here, supposedly, with Hezbollah in Lebanon, which, if you know anything about that war, put it in the comments. I want to hear, I need the truth about what's going on in Lebanon and Hezbollah, because the talk is that really what Israel's doing is just trying to take over Lebanon. They want that land. They want that land.
Daddy, chill.
And I don't know what the truth is. You know, they say they're fighting. I don't know. Hezbollah, what are they, a gang? Oh, no, they're terrorists.
Hello there.
All right. So here's a clip from CNN, and the title is Iran Deal, Ex-NATO Commander Reveals the Bad News. So maybe they think it's not that great. Let's take a look. CNN. Now, Trump is on record saying he doesn't like CNN. And this is what we're doing out here. We're crashing the party. We're talking about, I'm looking at both sides. I want to see who's doing what. So are they going to throw dirt on this situation? Let's take a look.
The U.S. and Iran have reached a framework to end the fighting. A signing is...
Okay, right there, immediately, she said...
Iran have reached a framework to end the fighting.
They have reached framework to end the fighting. Which, I guess, is technically right. Excuse me. They are still having to discuss things. I believe the deal that they're signing is a 60-day thing, maybe. I'm not sure. We're gonna. That's what we're here to find out. But just pointing that out, that she's already saying, you know what she's saying.
A signing is set for this Friday, and what needs to be worked out before then, what they're actually agreeing to, in what timeline, and what's left to be worked out is a very big question. Joining me right now is CNN senior military analyst, former NATO Supreme Allied Commander, Admiral James Stavridis. It's good to have you here on a day where there's some answers and a lot more questions. Admiral, can you characterize this moment for us in your mind? Like, how close are they to ending the war, do you think?
I think it's like a car kind of chugging down the highway. It's been moving in this direction, Kate. You and I have discussed it over the last couple of months. We always kind of felt there was a 65% chance we'd get to an agreement. Here we are. So car is chugging along. Here's the bad news. There's a lot of sand in the gears. You mentioned a couple of them, but tactically I'll add another one, which is the mines. How many mines are in the strait? When do they get cleared? Who is going to clear them? Are there going to be escorts for those ships? Those are tactical concerns, very real, believe me, to the mariners who are going to be asked to sail through the straits. And then secondly, operationally, as you mentioned, it's Israel, Lebanon, Hezbollah, that deadly triangle, very much.
I wonder if this picture is real back here of all these ships. Because they could have easily just put an AI picture of a bunch of ships waiting to go. But that's pretty crazy looking. If you think all these ships are just been sitting here waiting.
Unfinished business, certainly in the minds of the Israelis. So that's operational. And then strategically, it's the nuclear material, as President Trump calls it, the nuclear dust. It's hardly dust. It's 1,000 pounds of highly enriched uranium. And there's no clear path to get that out of the country. So car is still chugging, finish line ahead of us. Will we get there? I still think it's a 2 in 3 chance, but a lot of sand in the gears.
Let's go back to the
sand in the gears is crazy. I mean, if I'm driving my truck down the highway and there's sand in the gears, we got a big problem. Maybe I would just say we are going down the highway and maybe we have a lot of decisions to make on which directions we're going to go, which exits we're going to take. I don't know. Gears in the truck makes it sound like we might not make it because this thing is broke.
Tactical, because I was going to ask you, I was kind of in my mind thinking of it as like logistics, like how challenging, or maybe think of it this way, how quickly can the Strait of Hormuz truly reopen safely and fully to give the confidence, not just in statements, but just to give the confidence of the companies and the shippers and the people who are going to be traveling through the strait that they can?
We say in the military, and you put your finger on it, the amateurs are talking about all the war fighting and the missiles. The professionals are talking about logistics, meaning your point, we've got to clear the strait to a level of confidence for these mariners. As you know, I've been through this strait close to 100 times, and it's tough navigation without all the missiles and the mines and the small boats. So to answer the question, I think it's probably not months and months, but it's certainly weeks and weeks. Here's something to watch. The president is about to land for the G7 in Europe. Can he get the Europeans on task here? I hope so. Europe ought to step up and participate with the U.S. in at least this phase of the operation. I think they will. Look for European minesweepers to help do that. It'll still take weeks before those mariners are fully confident in the strait.
This gets to another piece I wanted to ask you about. There's an aspect of the interview the president did with David Sanger of the New York Times over the weekend that I wanted to read. He wrote this in part about his conversation with President Trump. Speaking on his 80th birthday, as his family could be heard gathering in the background for a celebratory dinner, he, the president, praised two authoritarians, President Xi Jinping of China and Vladimir Putin of Russia, for aiding in the settlement, or at least not interfering in the blockade of the strait. You read that, and then with in mind what you just said, that the president is about to arrive in France to meet with the G7, and it's just how much this Iran war has impacted or maybe reshaped the relationship with traditional U.S. allies.
Indeed, it has, and not in good ways. And it's driven a kind of wedge between the two sides of NATO. You can feel that transatlantic bridge kind of creaking at the moment. So my message to the Europeans is, here's an opportunity to show Putin and to show Xi that we, the West, can come together, can fulfill this mission together. I think it's an important moment for Europe in that regard. And then finally, just a spot of good news is that this is bad news for Vladimir Putin, because as oil prices come down, he has less money to finance his illegal, immoral, violation of international law war in Ukraine.
I'm going to bring in CNN global affairs commentator and former...
All right. That's enough of that clip. You're out of here. Let's check out what Fox News has to say. Oh, it says, Obama fires back as Trump pushes new Iran agreement. Because if you don't know, let me remind you that there was already an agreement with Iran before we went to war with them, and Obama is the one who made that deal. So there was a deal with Iran and the United States, some form of a peace treaty. I'm not going to get into what it entailed because I don't know the exact details, but it sounds like it was a lot like what we're about to do. I don't really know, but we'll hear what Obama has to say. Sounds like.
So right now, President Trump is on his way to the G7 summit after reaching a deal with Iran. Trump reportedly telling the New York Times the deal will still allow Iran to continue enriching uranium for non-military purposes. Former President Obama casting doubt on how it's different from his own deal.
It is doubtful that any agreement that arises is going to be significantly different or a significant improvement from the deal that we had in the first place and had worked for a long stretch of time before the United States pulled out of it.
Let's bring in Fox News contributor Mark Thiessen. Mark, I would say this to the former president's point. The difference is that the president dismantled their military in full. Yeah. Of course, you got some missiles still left, and it takes away the uranium that is there. So I would say that's the key difference, right?
Well, first of all, it's the exact same deal except for 14,000 military strikes that buried their entire nuclear program under rubble so deep that the Iranians have told us that they actually can't get to it. If we want the nuclear dust, we're going to have to come in and get it. Destroyed 82% of their defense industrial base, sunk their entire navy, grounded their entire air force, and also, by the way, the Ayatollah Khamenei, Qasem Soleimani, and like the top two tiers of their leadership are dead. But other than that, it's exactly like the Obama nuclear deal.
Yeah, so tell me, there are...
Which we have not got the nuclear dust yet. I would be surprised if we get it, just to be honest. And also, from what I hear, they've still got military. I mean, yeah, we've taken out a lot of stuff, but it sounds like they've still got stuff to hold their ground. Obviously, we couldn't take the Strait of Hormuz, this whole time for some reason. So, I don't know. Sounds like they still got some motion over there.
Some concerns, and let's go through the proposed deal.
Yeah.
The resumption of the trafficking.
But basically, that guy did just confirm it's the same deal, except for, according to them, we're going to get the nuclear stuff, and their military is crushed.
In the Strait of Hormuz, it ends the blockade on Iran. Negotiates around nuclear enrichment, disposal, and enrichment. That's the president saying he's going to get rid of that dust within the next 60 days. And then some sanctions release, and then the release of some of the frozen Iranian funds tied to Tehran's compliance. Okay, so, and then, of course, can't forget about the ceasefire between Israel and Hezbollah in Lebanon.
Yeah.
What are your concerns? Because, I look at it, and I said this early in the show, the president has now put Iran in a cage, and I believe he will leave them there. But there will be another president. And the question is, will they keep him there?
Yeah, so a couple of things. One, we don't know the details of the deal yet. We don't know what has been agreed to, and the nuclear part is still to be negotiated. This is just an agreement to negotiate the nuclear side. So that's one problem. Another problem is that Trump's only going to be president for 2.5 years.
Yes.
And at some point, we could have another weak president like Barack Obama, like Joe Biden, and they're not going to comply with it. And the third problem is that the Iranian regime, thanks to all those military strikes, is on its back. And a deal, even a good deal, helps them get up. Because, I mean, right now, we're opening up the strait, we're lifting the blockade. That's billions of dollars going into the Iranian regime's coffers without them having done anything.
Yeah.
And then apparently we're going to give them, we're going to give them sanctions relief and reconstruction based on performance. But that means that we're going to be giving them a lifeline to revive their regime after we had decimated it. That is a huge problem because the Iranians may comply for a short period of time, but then we're going to have a weak American president, and they're going to have gotten the money. And then there's talk of a reconstruction fund of hundreds of billions of dollars. They'll be like doing a Marshall Plan for Germany while the Nazis were still in power. So I'm anxious to see what the details of the deal are and what gets negotiated, but I'm concerned. I agree.
I'm out of time, Mark, but also that last element of the proxies. It has to be clear that Israel is not attacking Lebanon, but they are attacking Hezbollah, which is funded by Iran. And that portion, if this is included in the deal, that portion alone is going to blow this up very quickly, if not handled appropriately. Thank you so much for joining the program.
Oh, that's interesting. So, according to that guy, Hezbollah, the terrorists, I guess, that are invading Lebanon, are funded by Iran. Interesting. All right. And let's see. Okay. So the last one is, and I just, to be noted here, CNN and Fox News, they're telling the same story, but they are telling it with different colors, I would say. Yeah. A little bit. But at the same time, Fox News did kind of like say this might blow up in the end because of the whole Hezbollah Lebanon thing. So, anyways, this right here is CNN, and it says Trump blasts Netanyahu for Lebanon strike. So, let's take a look.
The president very frustrated with how the Israeli Prime Minister Netanyahu has been responding to this, continuing to launch strikes in Lebanon right before this agreement was signed. You mentioned what he told Axios, but he also said this to the New York Times. He described Netanyahu to the New York Times as a very difficult guy and went on to say, to be honest with you, he should be very thankful for us, to us for doing this, because if Iran had a nuclear weapon, Israel wouldn't be around for 2 hours. That was a direct quote from the president. I think that just goes to show how tense this relationship between the U.S. and Israel is at this point. The president really not wanting them to threaten this upcoming agreement, John.
Now, again, when we get that text, it'll be interesting to see domestically and around the world how it is received. Elena Trine in Geneva this morning, thank you very much. Kate?
Let's talk more about this. Joining us right now is the Axios Global Affairs correspondent and CNN political and global affairs analyst, Barak Ravid. And it's your interview that really set things over the weekend on fire with what President Trump told you. And one person not heard from yet publicly, it does appear, is who we were just talking about, Benjamin Netanyahu himself. And after that extraordinary interview that you had with the president this weekend, Barak, what are you hearing today?
Well, I think Netanyahu, his people, and his mouthpieces in the Israeli media are all furious about this deal. The Israeli ambassador to Washington, Yechiel Leiter, has been making phone calls to members of Congress, telling them how much Netanyahu is concerned and disappointed about this deal. One of Netanyahu's key mouthpieces in the Israeli press, a guy called Inoon Magal, wrote on X a super strong post where he called the U.S. negotiators, Steve Witkoff and Jared Kushner, Jew boys. He called Vice President Vance scum. He said they're working for Qatar and the other Gulf countries. So when somebody that close to Netanyahu writes those things on X, I think it gives some sort of an impression about how Netanyahu and his close circle, what they think about this deal.
And the Lebanon front I think it appears, is going to be more and more critical to how long this framework exists and stays in place if they're going to continue negotiations about the long-term future and stopping any long-term future of a nuclear program. Israel's defense minister said this morning that they are not withdrawing from southern Lebanon. So what is going to happen here? What are you hearing behind the scenes?
So first, I have no information that points to any demand by the United States, at the moment at least, for an immediate Israeli withdrawal from southern Lebanon. What I heard from U.S. officials is that basically in Lebanon they're talking about a ceasefire, which means everyone hold in place, no military action, neither by Hezbollah nor by Israel. And from what I heard from regional mediators, that in the talks between the U.S. and Iran through the mediators on over the weekend, the point the U.S. made is, you, Iran, make sure Hezbollah doesn't shoot, and we'll make sure Israel doesn't shoot. But the thing is that the Iranians don't feel that Trump really has a way to make sure that the Israelis don't take military action in Lebanon. I think this is why that's going to be a main sticking point in the implementation of this deal. And also next week, on June 22nd, there's supposed to be another round of direct negotiations at the State Department between Lebanese and Israeli officials. The U.S. wants a deal between Israel and Lebanon, not through Iran, but through direct Israeli-Lebanese talks. And I just wonder if the Israeli government will be open enough to actually have good faith negotiations when it is so mad about the current deal.
Yeah, I mean, as Aaron David Miller had put it, I know you'd sent it out. No U.S. president has said publicly about an Israeli prime minister what Trump has said about Netanyahu, from what President Trump said to you on the phone over the weekend. As I read multiple times, it was not a
multiple times.
It was not to be missed.
I thought Trump liked Netanyahu. I thought he said he's a good guy. He'll do whatever I tell him to.
In case you didn't hear me, Barack.
Not a slip of a tongue, multiple times.
It definitely was. Great reporting, as always, Brock. Thanks for coming on.
Well, Israel is making it clear it is not happy with this UN-Iran agreement. We are hearing criticism from politicians of different political camps. And as we've been reporting, Israel's defense chief says the IDF won't be pulling out of Lebanon. CNN's Oren Liebman has the view from Jerusalem. And why is it that Israel, seemingly across the board, at least when it comes to government officials, so unhappy with this agreement? And do we know where the Israeli Prime Minister Benjamin Netanyahu stands?
Well, we don't know publicly because he hasn't made a statement about the ceasefire deal yet or what his intentions are here. In fact, the only statement we saw on social media yesterday that had anything to do with President Donald Trump was a happy birthday message that celebrated how closely they're working together. And yet other ministers in the government, even politicians in the opposition, have come out against this deal, specifically because of what is expected to be the demands upon Israel as it relates to Lebanon. Iran, pretty much from the beginning, has demanded that any ceasefire between the U.S. and Iran include Lebanon and a potential withdrawal of Israeli forces. Well, Israel's defense minister said he will not, and that Israel will not be withdrawing forces from the territory it occupies in southern Lebanon. So clearly signaling there. And he talked about, by the way, the existing and expected pressure. So there's clearly an expectation that the U.S. will put pressure on them to withdraw. The question is, ultimately, how does Benjamin Netanyahu handle this pressure and what are his options? Trump has clearly boxed him in at this point. Trump, in fact, said just a couple of days ago that Israel should not be attacking anywhere in Lebanon. He also said Hezbollah should not attack Israel. Well, we've seen him say that in mid-April, and that fell apart within a matter of days. So it's clear the Israeli government, ministers, those who are very close to Netanyahu are...
All right, enough of that nonsense. Get that guy out here. Give him a fart noise. We don't need to hear you, boy. We got our own journaling to do. Give him another fart noise. All right. So I went ahead and talked to my boy Grokalock. Okay. He's like Papa Doc from 8 Mile, but his name's Grokalock. And he has real nice parents, and his parents have a real nice marriage. Okay. Sorry, guys. Okay. This is what I'm doing. I'm going to look it up. I looked up. I talked to Grokalock, and I asked him, why is Israel so unhappy with the peace deal that we have with Iran that we're working on? Because this is what I don't understand. You know, everyone's talking about Iran, and I run Iran. I run, then I ran. I ran, then I run. And that's a whole nother topic. Like, literally, I'm thinking about doing my next couple episodes on 2 different things. And they might run together. And that is, one of them is the big E files. You know, I don't even want to say it on here, but that boy, it rhymes with Stepstein. And getting into that. And then the other one is Israel. In America, there's a big Israel first and America first and MAGA, I guess. There's like these 3 parties. And I'm just trying to figure out why somebody in the United States, in a political seat for the United States in Congress or whatever, would be Israel first. I understand being, Jewish and loving Israel, because if you're from there or something. But as far as, our country that we live in, it's not like, first of all, I don't even think we have to put anybody first necessarily. It shouldn't even have to be like that. But we should have our affairs in check first, which we don't. There's a lot of stuff that we could be spending money on here. Like, I don't know, homelessness, violence, crime, legalizing steroids. I'm just kidding. So, anyways, let's go ahead and read what Grok has to say, because Grok just scrubbed the internet. We're going to get the truth here, okay? That's all you need to do is use Super Grok, okay? I pay $500 a month for Super Grok, y'all. That means I'm going to get the truth. So let's see what he says. Key reasons for Israel's discontent. The deal is an interim framework, a memorandum of understanding, an MOU, that mainly ends active hostilities between the U.S. and Iran, reopens the Strait, lifts U.S. naval blockade, sets up 60 days of further talks on Iran's nuclear program, sanctions relief, and frozen assets. If it does not fully resolve Israel's core demands, here's why Israel, across political lines, including critics of Netanyahu's, is pushing back. Iran's nuclear program is not dismantled. Israel wanted the deal to force Iran to give up its nuclear capabilities up front. Instead, these are deferred to future negotiations. Israel fears Iran could keep advancing its program, cheat on terms, or reconstitute it later. No strong action on ballistic missiles or proxies. Iran's support for groups like Hezbollah in Lebanon isn't sufficiently curbed. The deal pushes for ceasefires in places like Lebanon, which could limit Israel's ongoing operation there. Excuse me. Israel sees these proxies as existential threats and wanted the agreement to weaken them more decisively. Okay. Economic relief for Iran. Releasing frozen assets or sanctions relief would give Iran money to rebuild strength after the conflict. Now, I looked this up earlier because one of these guys that I like watching on YouTube, he is always dogging Trump. He's always dragging him through the mud, and he's a little conspiracy, like thick with the conspiracies, which I'm not saying they're not true, but he's always like when Trump did the interview with the Meet the Press and he stormed off at the end, he tried to say he dookied in his pants. And I just don't feel like that should have been in a headline. It's not proven, stuff like that. And so he says, that guy, which I like watching him, don't get me wrong, but like I said, I'm not really all for watching a lot of his videos on my channel because I think a lot of it is cake, a lot of icing on there. And what he was saying is that Iran's getting money from us, a lot of money. So I looked it up, and from what I can tell, no, they're not getting money from us, but we have frozen a lot of their money somehow. I don't know how that works. And this deal may end up unfreezing their accounts, which is like millions and millions of dollars, maybe even more than that. 15 to 25 billion in Iranian assets. Wow. That's crazy. So if they get their money back, they're going to be able to fight fight Israel or fund, the Hezbollah more, whatever. So, and then the last one here, it says Israel feels sidelined. The deal was negotiated between U.S. and Iran without Israel as a direct party. Many Israelis view it as U.S. prioritizing de-escalation and economic stability over Israel's security goals set at the start of the conflicts. Well, what are we supposed to do? If you think that we should keep going to war because Israel's not happy, and we should keep going to war until Israel is happy and they get all their checklists done, then tell me why in the comments. I want to know the truth. I want to know why you feel that way. I want to understand. Because right now, that doesn't make sense to me. And then it says, border context, Netanyahu and Israeli officials have called it a strategic failure that doesn't meet war objectives like removing existential threats. Opposition figures and right-wing voices are criticizing it. Yeah, and I get that. It does kind of seem like Trump is trying to just end it. And I'm fine with that. That's what we want. That's what I want. So I want the war to be over. It sounds like it was maybe a bad idea. And we spent a lot of money for this for nothing really to be different. So tell me what you think. Put it down in the comment section. Like the video. Subscribe. We're trying to get these subscribers up. Okay? Hit the like button. If you are watching this show 42 minutes in, now that I think about it, you already like and subscribe. Okay, and I love you. Oh, it's kind of looking like an octopus there. Yeah. All right. That's it. All right, I love you so much. Thank you for crashing the party with me. I just love doing this show so much. One day I'm going to quit my job and I'm going to be here. I'm going to be doing live streams and I'm going to be making videos all day and I'm going to be having guests on, which, by the way, I have an idea for a guest. Supposedly he's got the intel on what's going on overseas. And I think it would make for a good conversation, if you know what I mean. That's right. We're going to get to the truth. All right. Don't be a hater your whole career. Hit the like button. I love you so much. Get out of here.